Good evening, bookies. My name is Hannah, and welcome back to Top 10 Tuesdays. So today we are discussing the books that I've owned for years, that I read years ago, that I either plan on rereading or plan on getting rid of, when all in reality I'm never going to read them again and probably never going to get rid of them. So before we begin, this doesn't mean like I'm not going to reread them because I didn't like them, or I'm not trying to like hate on any of these books. Just I've had them on my shelf for a very long time and I don't plan on rereading them. They're just kind of there for now until I figure out what I want to do with them. Some of these books I haven't even read, but I got them in junior high to the point that I was like, I'm going to read this, and then I never did. So let's just get to it. Hopefully it'll make a little bit more sense. So instead of showing you one book of one series and then showing you the second book of the same series, I'm just going to show you the whole series that I own at the same time and then explain. And yeah, so let's just go. So the first series that I have on my list is, was that in the right order? It wasn't even in the right order. Star-Crossed by Josephine Angelini and Dreamless by Josephine Angelini. I've read this book. I read this book in, I think it was junior high or high school, and I really liked this book. And so I bought the second one, and they both just sat on my shelf for years. It's been years. And I don't ever plan on rereading this book ever. So I just don't know why I've held on to it. I'm kind of considering doing a book purge some of these days and just getting rid of a ton of my books that I don't need. And these would be one of them. The next books I have is the Body Finder series by Kimberly Durning. Again, this is something I read in junior high, and I love this series so much that I bought most of them. I am missing one of them. I'm not sure if it's the first, the second. I mean, I have the first, and I'm pretty sure I have the second, but I don't know if I have the third or the fourth. I don't know what one is which. I used to get really excited for these books, and then as I've gotten older and they've sat on my shelf, I kind of was just like, I'm not really interested in them anymore, and I feel kind of bad because like most of the books that are on this list are kind of what helped me into my reading, like what helped me get to where I am, and let's just move on. The next series I have on my list is another teen kind of series where I read it in my teens and now I kind of just am not interested. That is the Hush Hush series by Becca Fitzpatrick. Again, I was in love with this series. I love this series so much, and then I got a little older and just stopped caring. I'm missing, I think it's Crescendo. I'm missing Crescendo. I don't even own it, and I've seen it in the store dozens of times, and each time I'm just kind of like, I don't really want to buy it, so I'm never going to reread these books either. The next book I have on my list is Halo by Alexandra Adornetto. Never going to reread this book. I think I read the second one, and Emilia owns all of them. They're over here. But I'm never going to reread this book again. This is probably going to be included in my book purge. I'm not interested in it anymore, and yeah, that's kind of sad. The next series I have on my list, I'm again just gonna probably get rid of these soon enough. They're over there, and like I have a shelf over here. You think you've seen the shelf maybe, but it's just a little shelf, and it's just stuffed full of the books that I'm never going to read again. Some of them are TBR, some of them are just books I read years ago that I'm never going to read again, and it's a little depressing. So this shelf is probably going to be purged pretty soon. But the next series I have is the Unearthly series by Cynthia Hand. This is another one that's going to go. I think another problem with most of the series that I'm showing you today is I don't quite remember what happened in any of them. It was so long ago, and it was before like I was very smart about keeping track about like what happened in books, and I don't feel motivated to go through all of the books that I read years ago and like see if I am interested in keeping them. The next series I have is one of the first books that I remember reading because it was suggested to me by one of my best friends, and she told me all about like what it was all about, and I fell in love with it. And then I think I think I got bored, and that's why I never picked it up again, and to this point I'm kind of like done with it, and it's just again an eyesore on my shelf. I'm sorry, but they're done. These books are done, guys. I'm probably gonna get rid of them. This is the Need series by Carrie Jones. I loved this series so much, but now as I'm older, they're really tiny. Wow, I never realized how small these books were. This is 288 pages. It's not even that big of a book. So my friend suggested these to me, and I read through them, and once I read them, I was kind of done with them. I think that's also something else that's wrong with me, is I don't see the point of reading them again if I've already read them, which is horrible of me, but it's the truth. The next trilogy I have was kind of just a big mistake from the start. Not because the books were bad, just because I wasn't interested in the books. I read the first book, I was rather bored with it, literally only remember the ending, that's it. And then one day I accidentally bought the third one, and you're probably like, how do you accidentally buy a third book? Well, they had it on sale for like $1. And I was like, well, this sounds good. Totally forgot it was even included in this series. I was like, this sounds good, and took it home, and then I was like, oh, well, I guess I have to go out and buy the second book now, and I haven't read the third or the second one to this day, and it's been like 5 years. That is the Wildfire series by Karsten Knight. Yeah, I wasn't really interested in Wildfire from the start, and then I accidentally picked up Embers and Echoes, and I haven't read them, and I really don't ever want to read them. I'm just not interested in it at all. So, yeah. I'm not doing very good with the explaining, but I think from the gist of it, you guys should get that either I read them already and don't want to read them. Like, things happen to the point that it's like, oh, when I was younger, I was going to be like, oh, I'm going to read this book. And then slowly I got more into adult books, and then I kind of just dropped the younger, more teen-oriented books. Which is also kind of bullcrap, because I still read teen books. I still read teen books, like, a lot. I have a lot of teen books, but I think these are more, I don't know how to explain it, guys. I'm just not interested in them anymore. So the next trilogy I read the first one, I loved the first one, and then the second one got sequel syndrome, and I couldn't do it. And that is The Pledge by Kimberly Durting. This is the second time Kimberly Durting's been on my list. I think she was mostly responsible for most of my young reading life back then in junior high. This series actually is pretty good, but like the second one I couldn't get very far into, and then I just dropped it, and I picked up the third one because it was on sale, and ever since then they've been sitting on my shelf haunting me. So the next trilogy I have on my list, I'm not going to read for a kind of a good reason of why. This is Angel Fire series by Courtney Allison Moulton. I read the first one as a young child, like 13, maybe 14. And I really liked it, and then I read the second one, and I really liked it, and then I never read the third one. Ever. I tried to reread these probably a couple months ago, and I found the main character infuriating. I found her annoying, and like, I feel like I saw her as kind of a useless character, which was not the kind of character that I wanted to read about. And so the third one remains unread and probably will forever. So the 10th and final book I have on my list is My Super Sweet 16th Century by Rachel Harris. I actually really liked this book, and I started reading the second book. I don't think I ever finished the second book. I'm just kind of not going to ever read this one again because I feel like I'm kind of moving out of the teen part of this. How do I explain this? I'm moving out of the teen books when this is all like, she's 16, she's super young, she sees the world kind of like I remember at the beginning, I think she's a little bit of a snotty brat. Whereas now that I'm older, I kind of want to be aiming towards more the older characters like Outlander and like Sarah J. Maas. I want to start reaching out to that kind of thing. So I'm never going to reread this again, and it's probably going to be on my next purge pile, unfortunately. Okay, so that is it for my 6th episode of Top 10 Tuesdays. Thank you so much for joining me. If you'd like to check out my other Top 10 Tuesdays, then you can go ahead and I'll leave a link to the playlist down in the description below. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you guys in the next one. Rock on. Hey guys, I'm Hannah at Heckyeahbooks, and today me and my sister, who you are going to meet in just a few seconds, we are doing the siblings